Okay, ready.
Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing well and welcome to our show Meet the Global Leader, which is organized by the School of Entrepreneurship Development. The purpose of this program is to share the life experiences of our guest speaker who are from different countries and from different backgrounds with the audience. So today our adorable guest is Ellynita, and Ellynita, welcome to the session.
Thank you, Mahbova. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to hear your thoughts, but also share my experiences.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. So we are going to hear from you. Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a Malaysian, eldest of 8 kids, and they've been amazing role models, even though they're much younger than I am. They're a lot more responsible than I am. But right now, I'm actually living and working in Denmark at Lego. And for the last 20 plus years, my passion has been in making our future actionable. So a lot of us think about what our dream jobs could be, but I'm thinking more about what is the impact and purpose that I want to create in my life, but also the lives of others around me. The red thread in my career has been about working an agile way of working, innovation growth, and transformation.
Okay. Were you involved with any activities, volunteer activities, or business work?
Oh, I'm 47 this year in terms of age. It's been a while that I've been a volunteer, and what's brought me into being an active volunteer still now was when I was 11 years old that I joined Girl Scouts. And what's brought from that age into working and volunteering in conflict zones years after for about 15 to 20 years is just a passion and a call to service. What I realized was that a lot of nonprofit organizations would go into conflict zones and bring in programs that they have tested and experimented in other areas, but not taking into context the local nuances and cultural differences of how impact could be measured. And that's kind of raised my passion in becoming a volunteer in many conflict areas like Afghanistan, Aceh, central Nepal, Papua New Guinea, and such. But I'll also do local community work, whether that's volunteering in kitchen soups, soup kitchens in Denmark here, or just being a friend to someone that you see along the street.
Oh, that's nice. You did so many activities. So, what are the skills that you have developed during doing all these activities?
I started off when I was 11 years old on purely selfish reason because I hate being around people, and I'm very much an introvert, a very reserved person. Even asking directions on the street would scare me. So I started volunteering in hopes that I would be able to learn to be a lot more confident, to learn to be grounded in myself, but most importantly, to be able to understand the different dynamic of people around me. At that age when you're afraid or don't like being around people, the stories that you make up in your head scares you more than the actual people themselves. So along those years of just being volunteer from 11 years old till now being 47 is being able to resolve conflicts or being able to have patience to understand the perspective of another person, even though you disagree with them. It doesn't mean that you can't respect them. And this has helped me in so many scenarios at work, but also personally in relationships. Being able to negotiate terms and conditions with warlords by seeing them as people and role model in the community that they're in without having to feel disgusted by them. I would then create a connection with them, even though I disagree or don't understand the perspective that they have. So those are just some examples of of the skill sets that I've learned along the way as a volunteer. I would say this though, being an eldest of eight also helps me with having a little bit more patience and understanding of my own self, because we all have our own biases and we tend to want to impose our belief as the elder sister or the a more senior age mature person onto others without thinking that maybe they would have a perspective that we could also learn from.
Okay. So, who or what inspired you the most for doing all these activities or for your career?
It's the people, the souls, the hearts, and minds of people that I've met along the way. And I've mentioned being the eldest so far, and the least responsible person or sibling in my family is because my younger siblings all have grown up believing in the dream that they have for themselves and a passion. So they are my role models, even though they're much, much younger. The youngest is 30 years younger than I am. She's going to be 16, 17 soon. And she's gone through quite a bit of insecurities that she's had to go through and understand herself. So it's little things like that that inspires me. And of course, there's other folks, the communities, the content communities that I've lived with and worked with. I also remember very clearly still in central Nepal, um, Rajan. I don't know whether he's online right now. He might join. Rajan and his family in Bhaktapur, Nepal. They are my teachers in just having empathy to lead a community, and having patience and kindness, even though they themselves may not be um, where they would love themselves to be, and providing more for others in their communities. So, the kind of hearts and minds and creativity that comes out of them um, also is an inspiration. So you never know who could inspire you if you don't open your minds up to the person in front of you. So I'd say everyone that I've met so far.
Yeah, exactly. So, is there any career mistake that you did it and also you learned so many things from that?
So I'm a college dropout. A lot of my mistakes are my teachers and my lessons learned or my education in life. But the biggest one, career wise, was as a former entrepreneur myself. I've had a few startups. Half of them were successful and half of them failed. Um, One that I remember from that was I was in a relationship with one of my co-founders, and I did not understand how to regulate my emotions when we broke up, and thinking about the impact of that breakup onto the startup that we were both leading, and that impacted the livelihood and the mental state of mind of our employees. So that mistake of not understanding how to emotionally self-regulate, how to um, remember that I'm responsible for my employees, and being able to provide a platform where they could themselves grow through the startup, through that breakup, is is my biggest mistake and my biggest regret. I wish I had learned to be more aware of myself in those situations, um, and be kinder to myself, and taking time out to look into my own responsibilities of the employees that we had. I did not do that well at all, and I took a break from that when that happened. Realized the lessons learned in my journal so that I would not repeat that again, whether I lead another startup or a team in another company where I'm being employed at.
Mhm. So you said you dropped your college, yeah?
Yeah.
Uh, what are the challenges that you think if you if you didn't drop your college, you maybe don't face with those challenges?
As That's a really cool question, Makoba, because it was something that I thought about a month ago, actually. So it's a very good timing that you asked that question. Um, in Asian communities, we all know that we grew up with grandparents and parents that love to tell stories. That's how they impart their knowledge and their
Yes.
wisdom. And a lot of those stories are very long and and emotionally driven. If I had stayed on at my university, I think I would have learned a more structured, cognitive way of presenting my ideas, with key takeaways and actionable items for the people listening to my ideas or my presentation, in a shorter, much more concise manner, that speaks to what the listeners or the audience or the viewers are wanting to hear from their perspective. That's one main thing that I think I would have really learned if I had stayed in college or in university. Just being able to structurally articulate myself, communicate in a way that is easily processed and digestible by the people that I'm presenting the ideas to. The second one is be more data driven, understanding that our education in university or college would have, as much as it annoys us, would have pushed us to really focus on what is the evidence at hand that justifies or substantiates the idea that we wanted to present. So those are the two things that I think I would have learned if I had stayed on. Instead of going through years and years of mistakes, I would have leapfrog over that much earlier.
Okay. So you say that yeah, you were involved with so many volunteer activities. What do you think? Like volunteer work, by doing volunteer work, can we improve our skills, our professional skills, or our yeah, like our professional skills?
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. I think if we take the time to break down volunteerism into different perspectives, so emotionally and socially, it'll help to sharpen our skills to communicate, to connect, to empathize with one another, which would help us be able to become better leaders when we do active listening, and also to be able to navigate through different social and emotional scenarios, whether it's with our bosses or with our employees. On the cognitive level, on the more uh, intellectual level, it would help us to be able to understand how to break down complex problems, because you need to navigate through different scenarios when you're volunteering. You don't know which community you land on or what cause that you need to push and champion, and that helps. Or at least for me, it helped me to understand how to break down complex problems into simpler solutions that we could then carry out. Um, and then, of course, there's the self awareness. I think if we take our time to put aside our ego when we volunteer, we'll be able to learn more about how we deal with things ourselves and be more aware about how we process situations. And if we're not doing that well, how could we learn from that and be better? So all of those are skill sets and experiences that you can bring into your professional path or your career, um, in a more elevated way.
Yeah, when we are in community, so when we work with different people, so we should try to improve our skills.
Yes.
So the next question is this: that What do you think about the future skills needed for the youths to improve their professional skills?
Ooh, that's a big question, right? Because it really it's very individual and very contextual to the culture of the society that you're in. But in general, if I may do that, um, the skills that I wish I had learned more when I was a youth was on how to have that advanced cognitive skill. So critical thinking, problem solving that a lot of people mention, are the skill sets of the 21st century, or executive function related skills. So how do we understand the patterns of our own thoughts, and how do we present our ideas structurally? But I think the most important one really is the social emotional skills. So our own awareness of our self-esteem and how to grow that, our adaptability, our creativity, the empathy that I've mentioned many times, perseverance as well. But I'd like to zoom in a little bit on empathy because of the nature of the work that I'm in innovation, agile, and transformation. In many industries, empathy helps us to place ourselves and champion the voice of the user. So, any users of our products or service or ideas, our programs, if we're able to understand where they're coming from, what are their pain points and their gain points, or the way that they behave and think around a challenge that they have, that our product ideas, services help, we'll be able to build a better system. We'll be able to speak their language and champion their voice without jeopardizing the quality of our product or our service. So if you're an entrepreneur, I think this is something that's really good to be aware of. It's also has a tendency to be a curse and a gift if we have empathy, is because we have to be very aware of where the boundary is. We cannot allow ourselves to be immersed too much in wanting to please everybody, even if it's our users. We need to be more strategic, which is why the balances of all of those, function related skills, cognitive skills, and social emotional skills comes together very strongly. If we have that balance, it'll help us to be more strategic in pushing our product to the market and be profitable at the same time. So I'd say those are the things to develop and to grow, and to also be aware that it doesn't happen overnight, and be kind to ourselves when we make mistakes along the way.
Okay. So, what is your definition from entrepreneurship?
Uh, I know a lot of folks would say, when you apply entrepreneurial skills and pushing a product or a service forward, and it's your own, and you make it your own. But I would say entrepreneurship is about addressing the needs of the community that we live in, and understanding the voices that doesn't get to be vocalized by that community. Because I think when you address a pain point and you're smart about it, you can create a business out of it, and you're creating a business that's been co-designed with the thoughts and the voices of the users that's undergoing certain challenges or certain issues that they'd love to be addressed. So that's probably how I would see it. Um, and and this is something that I've learned after having 5 to 6 startups myself.
Yeah, okay. And how do you see the entrepreneurship uh, going forward?
Uh, this is a very interesting time or intersection in time that we have, because a lot of people say monopoly, big businesses are profitable, but a lot of economies in many countries, the backbone of that economy are the small and medium-sized businesses. I would say that if we're aware how quickly the market can shift in these days, and how technology has allowed for small and medium-sized businesses to grow regardless of your location, um, that's something to really take a note on. It's not the same as technology gets cheaper over time because of the advances in technology, but it's more about accessibility and how that would help small and medium-sized businesses to have strategic advantage over big businesses or over their competitors, because people can work and buy goods from anywhere now, right? With a lot of people now post-pandemic working from home, we can continue to provide exceptional service globally, um, and understand that it's now a lot about knowing how the supply chain works and how value delivery works for our customers, and to meet their expectations. People are much more at ease with new technology, and the pandemic was a major catalyst for that, because that kind of crisis sparked a little bit of a positive change. It has decreased the barrier to entrepreneurship through digital technology. Cloud-based tech has more than half costs in starting and running businesses, right? Um, we're able to see websites and platforms that help small businesses to integrate their product and their services onto a wider audience through these platforms, and building a better connection between buyers and their partners. But I also think there's a new age of diverse entrepreneurship. So we've got more women, more youth, more entrepreneurs from different backgrounds coming in, and building their businesses from Ghana to Bangladesh to participate on the same global stage as those in more developed countries. This kind of access is really exciting because it's fed by an enormous talent pool. Whereas in Asia Pacific, well, I'm in Denmark now, but you know what I mean. As a Malaysian, we see these barriers decreasing. There's so much more opportunities for young people everywhere, from every country, any culture, any sector, from impact to space tech. Anyone could get into the business at the moment and innovate on a global scale. So solutions are location independent now. That's kind of how I would see the future of entrepreneurship. I think it's important to also realize that we should not just focus on these opportunities, but also understand what's going on in the market globally, and what is it that suits our strengths and our skill sets as entrepreneurs, with the issues and challenges of communities around the world.
Okay, so uh, do you think that improving entrepreneurship has related to where do live or the facilities that we have? Did you
Uh,
get my question?
could you repeat that, just in case I think I might misunderstand it? Are you asking if it has if what we have now has improved opportunities for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I mean that does improving entrepreneurship related or depend on where we live or the facilities that we have?
Ooh, I'm a big believer, because I've made so many mistakes along the way, and um, I've I've had a lot of opportunities that were created by either my own creativity or the creativity of others. I think a lot of whether economic, technological, or market factor affects opportunities to become entrepreneurs. It has a lot to do with ourselves more than anything else. I think if we have the passion and the purpose and the humility to know when we're wrong as entrepreneurs, we'll be able to push through any barriers that's out there. Um, it's it's a long runway to get anything successful, um, and it's it would take a lot of patience, humility, understanding, perseverance to know when we need to pivot, change our tactical um, uh, approach to our products and our services as entrepreneurs. When should we kill certain products and services that's no longer addressing a need? Um, and when do we continue with our products and services? That takes a lot of courage, curiosity, but it also takes a lot of focus and a strong emotional support system in our life. So if we don't have those things, whatever factors out there that helps to provide opportunities, we won't make it if we
Yeah.
don't have the foundation of that.
Okay. So my last question is this: that what is the greatest life lesson you learned in your journey, like by doing all these?
Yeah. Two things I think. Well, three, I would say. As an entrepreneur, it's very easy to feel alone. As a youth, it's a lot more probability that you feel alone. So I would say build relationships and sustain the connectivity that you have with your family and friends who wants to see you succeed. You know, everyone's going to have a lot of opinion on what to do and how to do it and who to become. But if you know yourself and you're still willing to listen to others, that's number one. Another is experiment, experiment, experiment. So even if you don't have a product or you don't have a service, you can still test your ideas out there in various level of resolution and fidelity, and understand the potential of it. Then the third one would be kind to yourself because you know
Yeah.
being an entrepreneur and a youth, it's you're up against the world basically, and it's very easy to feel like you're not enough, but you are. It's not easy to see that you have the skill sets and maybe you don't have certain expertise, but that's where you build those relationships with people who are smarter than yourself and you push through because you're the visionary. So give yourself time to celebrate, to mourn your failures, to pamper yourself with quiet time or a massage or just doing things that makes you smile and happy, because when you're an entrepreneur, it's almost a 24/7 life where you just focused in on your products and your ideas. Um, and it's very easy to forget that you're still young and you have a life to live that's outside of your business as well. So I would say those are the three things that I've learned from.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us, and I'm sure that our audience learned so many things from what you have shared with us. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Maboba. Thank you for being a wonderful host and for allowing me to share my experience. And if there's any questions that anyone have, whether it is about how to be an executive level in a large organization, or to be an entrepreneur, or even to be a leader, or to be led, you can find me on LinkedIn, and I hope you can share that link with everyone. And I'm a sister to all, so just reach out for with any questions that you might have.
Yeah, sure. So now have a good time.
Thank you, and happy weekend. Enjoy the weather and the food. I miss all the Asian food. Take care.
Yeah.